Hello and welcome to another episode of Not For You podcast. Maybe it is, or maybe it's not for you. I'm your host, Tyler Laurie, and today we're getting into a subject that I think is really good for those people that are feeling lost in a career, lost in a path of life, just at that age where they're really trying to figure out what they want to do, and more importantly, how to get there. This episode is reverse engineering your life. So, real quick, before I go into the technique of how to reverse engineer your life, at least draw out a game plan for it, I'm going to bring you back to when I did mine in 2015 when I was feeling lost. I was about 28 years old, living in my grandmother's basement. My grandmother was getting older and my money was getting thinner. I was working for a job. I felt like I was doing everything for this job, managing, teaching, running the place. But somehow, some way, I was getting paid pennies, and I knew what I was doing was unsustainable. I felt my life was unsustainable. Grandma was going to eventually pass. I was going to have to get my own place. Workplace, I wasn't making enough money. Car was breaking down. I wasn't going to be able to get a new car. Levels of happiness weren't there. I was single. I didn't really have any intimate relationships going on or anything like that. And I was starting to feel that pressure of the world all coming down on me, especially nearing 30. In your teens, whatever, most people don't know what they're going to do. Some people might know they have a parent industry, a father has a job for them, or they own a business and they're going to work for their parent. But most of us don't know, right? Then we go to college, and at college, I'd say a chunk of the people that go for their degree of what they're going to do end up finding a job right out of work, going in, and then falling right into that lifestyle of that 9 to 5, working that whatever 401k Roth IRA lifestyle. And that's cool. That was just never me. I was never able to live that type of cubicle, cookie cutter, corporate life. I've tried, but it wasn't for me. So at this time, when I started working into the reverse engineering of my life, I was about 28. It was about 2015. And I was getting to that stage where some of my friends were already married and buying houses. They were going on vacations, and it really seemed like they were having their life together. And sure, most of these people that were in those situations did grow up in households where everything was together and things were easier. Not to say that there weren't people that did it that came from chaotic backgrounds, but I found that my background, my coming up was a little more chaotic, in and out of trouble, divorced parents, single mother, a lot of drama, that sort of stuff. So I was always trying to get a grasp of what I wanted to do with my life. I always knew what I enjoyed, but I had to figure out a way to get paid for it, or even if that was an option. So let's take it back. It's 2015. I'm living in my grandmother's basement, and I'm really trying to figure out what I want to do with my life because I can see the writing on the wall that what I was doing was unsustainable. So the first thing I started doing was I had an understanding that all the content and all the stuff that I was watching, comparing myself to other people and stuff like that was okay, but I was in control of what I was watching and what I was listening to. So I started listening to more positive like podcasts and positive things of people talking. I got really into Tony Robbins, right? He's one of the oldest motivational speakers. He's been putting out tapes since the 80s, right? And 90s. And I was listening to Jim Rome, people that were his mentor before that and stuff. And I was really listening to what they were saying. I would constantly listen to it. And this reverse engineering of the life was something I heard from Tony first. And it basically goes like this. We don't know where we want to, how we're going to start, but we can figure out the end result. So at 28, I said, let me think about if I'm 75, 80 years old right now, what is my goal? What would I want to be at 80 years old to say, this was successful. This is where I got. Don't think about where you want to be right away, but think about the end goal. And for me, I realized my end goal was to be able to have the financial freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with the people I love. But at that age and stage of my life, do I really want to be traveling and running around? And so I really started thinking I would want to have a compound, have a big piece of property with land. And you can be as outrageous and as crazy and think as big as you want for this reverse engineering your life, right? The bigger, the better. Think big. Don't think small. Think bigger. Okay. So I said, I'd want a piece of land. I'd want it in a warm location with a lake, with a warehouse where I can produce product, where I could have skate ramps, where I can go water skiing. I want animals there. I want track around the lake where I can ride. I want zip lines. I want all this stuff. Right. And it starts to sound crazy, but you know what? You draw down your dream. You have the house on the property with your family, with your wife, your kids. Eventually, the grandchildren come there. And I go, all right, I drew this down. Now, how would I get to this idea? How do I get to this space in my life? Because right now I'm living in my grandmother's basement. I have $300 to my name, and this is basically a dream. So, what's the step that I took before I got to what's the step before I got this land, right? What did I have? What could afford me to get into that? So I started thinking, man, maybe I had that land off of being able to make a big film, a film about my grandfather's life. Because at the time that I was living in the basement of my grandmother, I was cleaning out the closets of her house, and I found all this stuff of my grandfather, Dan Laurie, and I realized he was much more than just a muscle man or a store owner that sold weights. He was also a big entrepreneur involved in weightlifting, martial arts, acting. He was selling all these products and services. He had an amazing life story. He made a book called Heart of Steel. And I realized, wow, this is more than I always thought he was just this bodybuilding guy. He was actually an entrepreneur. And a lot of the things that he was into, the magazines, the martial arts, the wrestling, those were things I was into. And that really inspired me to realize I could become more than just a gym owner. I can become an entrepreneur. And that sounded way more enticing to me than just a gym owner. So my mind started bursting open with all these ideas and different things that the gym could springboard into. But I wanted to reverse, how'd I have this big house? How'd I get all that stuff? How could I make that happen? And I put it all down as a 10-year plan, right? I thought I could get this in 10 years to this spot. I made a 10-year plan to reverse engineer because at the time I wasn't looking out till the long, long term. I thought I can do this in 10 years. And I'm here to tell you, it's been 8 years and we're not quite there yet, but I'll show you right here. I'll bring it up to the screen, the writing and the framing that I have of the plan. And it's given me a game plan to stick to, and it's given me faith and hope in what I am doing. And it's something to go back on. So I figured, hey, maybe I got this house by making a successful film about my grandfather's life, the Dan Laurie story. And maybe I acted in the film. So now I'm acting and I'm in films. And that gave me the money to open up my fitness ranch, where not only do I have like a fantasy compound where I can create product to sell for my stuff, I also have a place that I could bring people, a healthy retreat that people could come to, and I can introduce them to a healthy lifestyle. So I was really enjoying that and liking the idea of that. But how'd I get money to make these films, right? So I'm reverse engineering. I became a movie star, and then I got all this money to open up this ranch, right? Well, how'd I become a movie star? How'd I get that money to make a film at that point? Well, I said, Fit You. I started a fitness university that I got franchised. I started a fitness university that I got franchised. So that sounded like crazy. I'm in my grandmother's basement. I have no idea how I'm going to even do that. And that didn't seem like it was something on the plate for me. So, how'd I get to Fit You? From Fit You, well, I started restaurants because that sounded more feasible to begin a restaurant. And from the restaurants, I made cookbooks. And the cookbooks, I also made meal preps and all this stuff. Well, how'd I get money for the workout? How'd I get money from the restaurants? Well, I started selling workout equipment. I got workout equipment on QVC, and I started doing magazines, and I started an online store, right? So I started figuring out all these ways that I was reverse engineering. How'd I get the workout equipment? Well, I'm looking at this if you keep on seeing me look down. My idea was that I had sponsors. I had sponsors for clothing, for making my own brand, for traveling, all this stuff because I thought the original thing that I thought was going to start all this was the pilot. The pilot for the show Are You Game? I wanted to shoot a reality show, a pilot called Are You Game, where contestants have, instead of 90 hours to get ready for a competition, they only have 90. Sorry, instead of having 90 days to get ready for a competition, they only have 90 hours. So you're really throwing yourself into the mix. And from that pilot, I thought I'd get picked up for the season, then the second season, then the spin-off shows, and all this. So I'm going to bring this up to the screen, and I'm going to show you my 5-year plan that I wrote on May 28th, 2015. It is now January 9th, 2024. I have yet to film a show. I don't own a franchise. I haven't made any movies, but I will show you there are some things on here that I have created. So the reverse engineer got me started. So right here, I'll show you. If you want, take a screenshot. I'll hold it for 5 seconds. Okay. So there are some things that I wanted to do. So this was just a blueprint. This wasn't something that I rushed and just drew up. This was something I thought about for, a week. I moved things and I added things. And as time goes on, I do want to add things and remove. So like every couple years or so, I might edit it, but I keep the original copy framed right in front of my desk every day. So I have my eye on the target of what that end goal is. That end goal is to have that ranch, have that fitness compound where I can produce all my product. I could film all my shows. I could live with my family. I can bring people to it for healthy retreats and share my land and my vision with others, help them live a happier, wealthier lifestyle. Like health is your greatest wealth. So happy, healthier lifestyle. So I wanted to do all this stuff with all this filming and all these shows. And I realized that was going to be very difficult. You could make it happen, but I needed to start doing something that was going to make me money pretty soon. And as we all know, going into some sort of venture of filming a show and getting it picked up and all the money and all the funds and all that raising, it's very risky. If you're going to do that, I'd advise you try to do something like that in your early 20s. But I was looking right at 30, and I was in fear that I was going to end up 30 living out of a car that was eventually breaking down. I was going to end up with nothing, going to an aunt, an uncle, having to move to somewhere. I don't know, figuring it out. But I didn't want to be in that position. I felt like my life had been a struggle, and I blamed it on not being in control. And I was in control of my own destiny here. There was nobody telling me what I could or couldn't do. So the ball was in my court, and I didn't want to fuck it up and blame anybody else. So writing this down gave me a vision of what I wanted to do. And before I could start a restaurant or do equipment or magazines or online stores, I realized what I was doing was I was managing a gym and teaching classes. And the best path for me at the time was to start my own fitness brand, my own gym. It was a Lori Fit Cardio Kickboxing Academy as we started it. And eventually, as I built off of that, I turned it into LFU, Lori Fit University. And what do you look at? Fit You right here on there. So I actually started somewhere in the middle and worked my way up and down at the same time. So it wasn't exactly the path that I wanted to start from. Everything wasn't exactly, but I'm able to jump on and move in different directions. And you might ask, how did you start your gym with no money, $0? And I did start with $0, absolutely no money. I started a gym, $0, zero members, and I was able to get into a facility, borrow some equipment, and make it happen. And I will get into that in the next episode, episode 3, which is going to be starting a business with $0, no money. And I'll tell you and show you guys how I did it, the techniques that I used. But I'm not going to get into all that right now. I just want to get into the reverse engineering because first you need to have that vision of what you want. And this reverse engineering, whatever you write down on that paper can and I believe will come true. The power of the pen, the power of the pad. As my grandfather used to say, put it on paper. If you put it on paper, it can be real. So with that said, I started with Lori Fit University. And sure, franchise hasn't happened yet. Magazines hasn't happened yet. But you know what? Online store, what do you know? About 5 years into the business, I started printing out my own shirts. I got a print press and I decided, let me take photos of all the clothes, let me upload it, let me get an online store. And boom, I got all my product on the online store on lorifit.com, which you can purchase anytime. But I slowly started to realize that when you're doing this reverse engineering, you have to be as specific as possible if you want to have maximum results. My goal was to have an online store. I had an online store. It didn't mean I was going to make any money or any sales on it. Anybody could start an online store. All you need is a website, right? And then you could upload your product onto it, pictures and images, but it doesn't mean that anything's going to sell. So this is when I started realizing the more specific you can be with your goals, financial goals, of that what you want to hit with each thing that's going to take you to the next level will help you out, right? Because just like I said, just because you have an online store doesn't mean I'm going to make numbers. So I could write online store that makes 50,000 in profit a year. And be clear, don't just write 50,000 a year because then it'll be net 50,000. Look for 50,000 profit in the year. So now that's beyond net. So that means what you're actually making in your pocket. So I never really got into the specifics. I said meal plans. Sure, I am doing meal plans, LFU fuel meals. That's something I've been working on for a long time now. But just because I made meal plans doesn't mean you're going to make money. I can make a cookbook, right? I wrote cookbooks. I could write a cookbook right now. Now, is that the same as a published cookbook that's in stores through in 3 different countries, making over 100? No. So I learned after time that we can achieve these goals, but we have to be more specific with these goals if we really want to hit a specific goal that's going to be life changing, right? And that's why I edit my reverse engineering once in a while to see where I can get to make more specific with the goal so you can hit it instead of just saying, I want to go to, like if you say, I want to go to college. Okay. You could sign up for the community college down the street and go to college right now. You can say, I want to go to a 4-year rah-rah school. Okay. You could say, I want to go to a 4-year university that's Ivy League and I want to have no lower than a 3.0 GPA. All right. Now you're getting more specific. So the more specific you are with your goals, the clearer your path is going to be. So, like I said, it's not the same having a 3.0 at an Ivy League school as going to college. You can be specific with your goal in your reverse engineering, and that will happen. And I made a mistake of when I did the reverse engineering, I just did a business reverse engineering. But you can do this with all parts of your life. You can do this with more than just business because you can do all this business stuff and still feel unfulfilled. So you can do it with your love life, how you're going to meet your wife, the qualities you're looking for in a mate, all those things. How you can't specify how you met, but you could come up with all these different ideas and steps that you took, all these different areas, friendships, business, relationships. You don't want to just do it one-sided. So I was so focused on this 5-year plan of only business, business, business. Everything outside of there didn't seem to matter. So I was losing grasp of all those other things while focusing in on exactly what I wanted to do and where I wanted to end up. This is a double-edged sword, right? There's going to be periods of sacrifice, great sacrifice in order to achieve your goals that other people that aren't in there, that maybe work the 9 to 5, that aren't creating their own business, that don't have this vision, that aren't creating a community, might not understand. They might not get, and they're going to look at you differently, and they might even judge you. That's something you have to be prepared for. At the end of the day, everybody's going to think you're crazy until they see the vision really come to fruition and become totally ultimately true. Once that happens, then you're great. Then you're awesome. But you got to be able to deal with that. You have to have tough skin. And what's going to help you is always going to look back to your drawing board of your reverse engineering and knowing that you're on some sort of a path to where you want to get and where my end result is. I want my end result to be the same. I don't care how I get there. I just want to get there. And I gave myself a bunch of pit stops and ways to get there, and I want to get there. So back to where we are now. Now I have my fitness university. I'm filming podcasts and I'm making online content for my online store. I have workout equipment that I haven't been selling yet, but I want to work on towards getting manufactured. I have meal plans that I'm looking to sell just more than outside of the gym. So things are starting to happen here. Things are starting to happen. Now I'm getting money. And guess what? I'm saving and I have the possibility to start actually shooting the pilot for that show that I've been talking about that I thought it was going to start. So maybe in the next year or so, I'll shoot the pilot for the show. Now I have the funding for it. I've also made the connections for it over thinking about it and planting it. And then from the show, who knows? Maybe that gets picked up. And then I could go into seasons and I have some sort of a streaming audience or some sort of a streaming platform that allows me to stream my show. Or fuck them. Maybe I do some sort of online membership to where you can get all my content, shows, equipment, food, be part of a 90-day program, all under one roof, all under the LFU Corporation, which is the goal. Then, once I got all that going, why not open up some more LFUs all around? Let's put them all around and allow other people to have their greatest wealth, which is health, and create some sort of franchise where people can become Gold Gloves and open up their own. So next it starts popping up more locations. Now I'm feeling more comfortable in front of the camera. At a financial place where I'm ready to start filming the film about my grandfather's life. You know, the Dan Laurie story. That idea that I had that I thought maybe I'd film at 30. Maybe I'll film it at 40. Maybe I'll film it at 45. But I still have that goal, that vision. And from there, maybe that gets picked up. I make some money, and now I can start opening up and looking for that land, that piece of property that I can produce all my product, my video content, my food, have it all ship out, have that lake where I'm enjoying myself. And more importantly, I can share in the wealth of knowledge that I've obtained through pattern recognition, through training, through all this stuff, and bring people to my retreat where we could spend, 2-3 days, weekends we could spend weekends, every 5 weeks or once a month. I have a crew come out and I bring in the best specialists and experts in new fitness stuff like that. And I bring people and I give them a rejuvenating weekend, back in touch with nature, back in touch with fitness, back in touch with themselves. And then we send them on their way, all while I'm able to live this existence where I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm surrounded by family. I have my friends come over. I have nature there. And these are the things that I like. I always liked the same things since I was a kid. Some of the things I see on here that maybe I would change, but for the most part, it's the same goal. So this was a 5-year plan. I thought I would have this in 5 years when I was 28. I said, by the time I'm 33, I'll be here at the fantasy compound. Well, I'm here to tell you that didn't happen. I'm 36. I live in my mother's apartment. Sure, I have my gym. I have my car. I have my friends. I have my relationships, but I don't have my compound. I'm saving. I'm working towards my goal, and I've created this patience. I can see the things are happening, and I can see that the goals are growing, but I'm getting to a clearer path of where I want to be and what I want to do. So I'm just here to tell you guys that if you're lost, if you're feeling lost, dream big. Dream as big as you can and write it down, the end dream. And now start reverse engineering how you got to there, how you got to there, how you got to there, how you got to there. And if you draw, those arrows that are going, how you got to there, to where you are today, then you will be able to eventually get there. I do believe it is like your manifest destiny. If you can manifest it, you can make it happen. But you have to be able to think big and don't think, oh, that can't. Anything's possible. Anything can happen. You have to believe it to achieve it. So reverse engineer your life. Come up with that goal and start backing it up, backing it up, backing it up. And maybe the first spot that you think is going to bring you to the next spot isn't really where it is. Maybe you have the ability to start in the middle and work your way in both directions at the same time. It doesn't matter. All that matters is now you're thinking differently. You're giving yourself a clear path of where you want to go and what you want to do. And you're hitting the road. You're hitting the road. It doesn't matter if you drive in the wrong direction to get to the destination. As soon as you hit water on the East Coast, you see you made the wrong turn. And if you're trying to get to California, you'll start to turn and maybe you'll go all the way down south and you end up in the Gulf Coast and you say, I'm in Florida. I went in the wrong direction again. It's okay. You're moving. You've just figured out 2 wrong directions. Now you start heading west. Okay. Now you're starting to head in the right direction. It doesn't matter. The whole key is that you have that destination location that you're trying to get to. And once you can start cruising, you can start getting there. And on the way, there's going to be a lot of things that pop up, a lot of trials and tribulations that you didn't think about. Maybe on that trip, you pop a tire or something happens and you have to stay at a spot a little longer than you thought. It's okay. The timeline may change, but the goals remain the same. Like, let me say that again. The timeline may change, but the goals remain the same. That means the end goal is the end game. I will not stop until I end up on that ranch, on that 100-acre piece of property with the lake, with the animals, with the family, with the friends, with the boat, water skiing, the ramps, the skate park, the outdoor gym, the zip line, the track around the whole lake that I can ride ATVs, dirt bikes on, all that stuff. The warehouse where I can produce product, I can produce food, I can help fuel other LFU enthusiasts, the marketing, all that stuff, putting it all together under one roof so I can live my fullest fulfillment and my destiny and help as many people as I can to feel happy and healthy and to live their own destiny. So, like I said, it's not easy. I'm coming on 8 years since I wrote this. Well, I wrote this in 2015. I'm going to have the gym is going to be 8 years old in August. So we're getting closer to, I can see things are starting to mold slow and steady. I feel the slower, the more sustainable. When things happen fast, you don't want that growth, that unsustainable growth. So I'm okay with going slow as long as I know that I'm on the path to where I want to go. And even if I get knocked off or I have an idea and I go in a different direction, I always have that main highway for me to hop back on and always cruise to my destination. So reverse engineer your life. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to get it done in a year, 5 years. Make it a real long-term goal and make it dream as big as you possibly can. Make it as detailed as you possibly can and put it down and start making, 5, 6, 10, 20 steps that it took you to get to that place from where you are now. Think about what from here can I go to there? And then from that level, how can I get to the next level? And then from that level, how can I get to that level and that level and that level? Until you get to your final level, that final destination that you're looking to get to, that positive place where you feel you can live your best life, you can be free, you can do what you want, when you want, where you want, with whom you want at all times. And for me, that has been a huge, huge inspiring factor. Whenever I'm feeling down and out, I always have my reverse engineer thing right here to go to, and it gives me a reason. It gives me a powerful why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm pushing, why I want to get to where I want to get to. Because I want that end result. I want that ultimate freedom, and I won't stop till I get there. There's either two things that are going to happen. I'm either going to die or I'm going to get there. And when you have that mentality, only two things could happen. So I'm going to get there. There's a lot of things in life that can happen to a person that derail them from this situation, but you got to make sure that your vision is first, and you have to let people that you get involved with understand and know your vision. And if they're not on board with that, and you can see that that's a hiccup in the road, then you're going to have to cut that person or that relationship out, right? This is something that you need, and this is something that you feel will strengthen your life with a person, with yourself, with your family, your friends, with everything. And it's your purpose. So start now, or start thinking about it. Don't be afraid to dream big. Like I said, my biggest issue with what I did, the reverse engineering, was not being as clear cut on bottom line goals. If you could be as clear cut on those bottom line goals, talking numbers of that, what you want to hit, goals you want to hit, then you're going to hit it. Like I said, the more specific you can be, the better. But just getting started, just figuring out that end goal, that really big end goal, is the ultimate, because then you can start backing everything up from there, and you can start making the story in your head of how you got there. Because we all make this story in our head of how we don't get there, or how we can't, or why we can't. Start making the story of why you can and how you did. Imagine you were already there and you're telling your life story from that perspective, right? It's all up to you. So be positive in the things you watch, be positive in the things you listen to, and be positive in the way you talk to yourself about yourself. Start drawing out your game plan, and it's up to you. It's whatever you want. It's all yours. It's individualized towards each and every person. Everybody's is different. So whatever it is that you want, figure it out. I would say this, my last thought is, probably the things that you love as a kid that you still love, that you might not be able to do as much because you got caught up in the rat race of life. Those are the things that you want to do. We pretty much know what we love and like by the time we're, 8, 10, 12, 15. Those sports, those activities, those socializing, that party, that's the stuff that you love then. That's probably going to be the stuff you love later on too. So put that stuff there, but also room for growth. So where the new things that come into your life, as you start to acquire taste for new things, you could also participate in those things there as well. With that said, hopefully this podcast is for you, but maybe it's not for you. It's not for everyone. I'm not for everyone, and I'm okay with that. But maybe I am for you. And if I can help you in any way and you feel that this helped you, leave a comment, let me know, and I support you. Like I said, I thought this was going to happen in 5 years. When it didn't happen in 5 years, guess what? I kept pushing towards the goal. I didn't see COVID coming when I wrote this in 2015. In 2020, I was doing the best my business was ever doing. I was on top of my game. I felt like everything was going to happen. And then COVID happened. And then I had to start all over again, it felt like. So I went from so many students down to like 8. It's not about that. I still have this vision. That's why I kept pushing after it. When you have that goal in sight, it doesn't matter. You still have a road, a pathway to victory. Choose your path to victory. Reverse engineer your life. Take your time. I don't care how long it takes. Be as specific as you can with it. Nothing that you write down is permanent. Everything can change. You can re-edit it every once in a while, but keep that first edit, that first draft hung up, frame it, and stick to it. Stay true to you, and the rest is yours. It is your destiny. You can manifest it. Believe in it. I believe it. I don't care if I'm on that ranch when I'm 40, 50, 60. I will be on that ranch. Mark my motherfucking words. I love you guys. Maybe it was. Maybe it's not for you. Hopefully it is. Hopefully this can help you out for those people that are a little lost or trying to figure out exactly what it is they want to do with their life. Start somewhere. All you need for this exercise is a pen and paper. You don't need a dollar. So figure it out and let me know what you guys think. Have a great day and peace.